Welcome to the Max Potential Habits podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Amanda Barrientez, the founder of NFA Coaching. I'm a Max Potential Habits expert, and it's my mission to teach you actionable strategies that will help you be a business building badass. Every week on the Max Potential Habits podcast, I'll bring you tips, tools, and inspirational stories from successful business builders who will share their max potential habits that helped them create rich, thriving, kick-ass lives and businesses. Now let's get to it. Hey there, everyone. This is probably one of the most exciting days of my entire life. I have been looking forward to creating my own podcast for a really long time, and today is the day. This is episode number 1 of the Max Potential Habits podcast. I can't even tell you how excited I am because I absolutely love podcasts. I think it's brilliant and amazing that we get to have access to free knowledge from experts, from everyday people, from the sky's the limit. If you look on whatever your search method is for looking at podcasts, there are so many incredible podcasts out there for you to listen to where you can learn and grow on the go. And to me, that is one of the most incredible ways that we get to learn, when we get to pair what we're doing on a daily basis with something else. It makes it more likely that we're going to do it. It's a habit. So to me, listening to podcasts became part of my learning journey when I stepped out of my struggling, painful past and learned to transform myself. Podcasts were such a critical component because I was on food stamps and I didn't have money to go to courses. I didn't have money for workshops. I had to access free information. So podcasts for me have transformed my life in every way I can think of. I've listened to podcasts on relationships, success, entrepreneurship, money, business building, real estate, health, wellness. The list goes on and on and on. And today I get to bring to you the very first episode of the Max Potential Habits podcast, which to me is one of my favorite loves, habits. Why am I going to talk about habits? Well, because habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. That's what James Clear says in his book, Atomic Habits. If you haven't read it, it's incredible. Get it today. Habits to me are really, really critical in our success because habits are a repeated behavior that becomes automatic. In this way, habits can set us up for massive success or horrible failure, because if we have autopilot habits where we're repeating something every day that is setting us up for a life of success, then awesome, right on. We don't have to think about it. We put it into action, we repeat it, and it becomes so habitual and automatic that then we have space and time to think about other things. But if we have our habits set to something that are autopilot in a direction that we don't want to go, then your life and business and money and health degrades over time. So it's really important to become strategic. I call these strategic habits, and I talk about the power of strategic habits in videos I've done and in my work with business building clients. It's really, really important to evaluate your habits and start to think about how they're shaping your reality. So habits are the foundation of all your success. When we go back to that quote from James Clear, and he talks about the compound interest of self-improvement, it's really cool to think about how they build on each other over time, but they build in the direction of your conscious intention. So of course you want your habits to become autopilot, but that's only if they're set up for success. If they're not, then you've got to reevaluate and rethink so that you can create new habits one step at a time. So habits to me have set me up for wild, massive success. And I'll tell you more about my story at the end. I want to give you a little bit more quotes on habits because I think they're very powerful. So Aristotle says 95% of everything you do is the result of a habit. Wow, that's powerful. 95% of everything you do is the result of a habit. So if you're liking the outcomes of your life and your practices and your daily rituals, then you've got powerful habits in place. If you're not liking your outcomes, then you need to look to your habits, your daily rituals, and those automatic behaviors that you do every day that aren't getting you where you want to go. Remember, as I said again, my definition of a habit is a repeated behavior that becomes automatic. Okay, let's bring on another one. This is from Gandhi. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. That's powerful. I really love that. So your actions become your habits, and your habits your values, and your values your destiny. So are you clear where you want to go? Do you know how to get there? The first place to look is habits. You want to look at your daily rituals, your daily routines, what you consistently think about, because your thoughts are a habit. He starts with your beliefs become your thoughts. So where did you get your beliefs? These are some of the things we're going to be talking about on this podcast. What are your belief systems? How are your belief systems shaping your habits? How do your thoughts become your words, and your words become your actions, and your actions become your habits, and then your values and your destiny? We're going to dissect these habits-based quotes. We're going to talk about the rituals that people do. We're going to talk about performance and execution and accountability and mindset and all the things that shape us into the powerful, empowered, thriving business builders and beings that we all want to be. Another one. Change might not be fast, and it isn't easy, but with time and effort, almost any habit can be reshaped. This is a quote by Charles Duhigg from The Power of Habit: Why We Do What We Do in Life and Business. And I love this one. That's another great read, The Power of Habit. And I like this one because it's really hopeful. He says that with time and effort, almost any habit can be reshaped. I would almost reason to argue that not almost any habit can be reshaped, but every habit can be reshaped. If you bring conscious awareness to your habits and you put in the time and effort, I truly believe that you can get where you want to go. It's not going to be easy. It's not a simple path. Well, let's say this. It is actually very easy, but you have to put the effort in. The path is there. We have so much research to show that you can change your daily habits if you put in the consistent effort and bring awareness and mindfulness to what you're doing. Researchers are now saying that it on average takes 66 days to change a habit or to instill a new habit. So, of course, this varies by what the habit is and how long it's been embedded and how stuck you are. There's a couple of variables that will change the amount of time, but on average, 66 days. 66 days is nothing. It is a blip in the radar of your life. So if you want to change and you want to improve and you want to get to the next level, 66 days is nothing. You've got it. So on this podcast, I'll be bringing to you my own practices, research-based practices, stuff that I've tried out on myself. I have a YouTube and IGTV channel where I release a weekly video every Wednesday. I'll be taking that content and turning it into podcast content, so I'll release those. And then I'll also be doing interviews with incredible people who have paved the way for your success. Every interview, I ask interviewees what the 3 top max potential habits they use to get them where they want to go and where they are today, so that they can share that knowledge and expertise with you so you can catalyze your progress. I think that it is critical for us to learn from people who are paving the way for success, because success leaves evidence and leaves clues that we can follow. Now, of course, you're going to take what you're learning on this podcast and you're going to adapt it in the way that you need to adapt it that works for you, because we're all unique individuals. But I want to give you a foundation for success. I want to give you the habits that help people max their potential to thrive. And when I say max their potential, I don't mean that they reach the top and then they stop growing. I don't really believe that we can ever max our potential. I believe that it's a constant practice to grow, to learn, to continuously fall down, get up, try again, and that you continue on that cycle, but it's an upward trajectory. It's like an upward spiral where every next evolution of yourself is the better you, the better version of you. You're always becoming through the practice. And to me, habits are the primary foundational resource for changing and transforming into the most empowered version of yourself. So that's what this entire podcast is about, Max Potential Habits. I coach from 3 pillars. My company is NFA Coaching, as you heard in the intro. And what that means is I'm a no fucking around coach. I coach from 3 pillars. The first one is personal power. The second is win-win relationships. And the third is money mastery. So you're going to hear a lot about those topics. I want to bring to you whatever you need to help yourself create the habits that will have you be successful so you can create the income and impact you deserve and you desire. If you're struggling in any area of your life, keep listening. Every week, I will be here for you. Leave comments. Subscribe to the channel, share it with friends. One of my goals is to reach 5 million people through my company, NFA Coaching, and this podcast is one way for me to reach as many people as I can. If you know of people who you think would be awesome to do interviews with, let me know. I would love that. If whatever you're learning, however you're growing, every week when you hear these podcast episodes, take some screenshots, share it with your friends, share it on social media, and comment about what you're learning and what you're getting. It helps give me feedback so I know what direction to go with the podcast. Of course, this is the first one, and I have ideas about where I want to go, but I want it to be driven by this community of people who's coming to listen each and every week. And I wouldn't be here without you, and I want to help you succeed. So now a little bit about me. I have if you think about credentials, I have a PhD in sociology, a bachelor's in psychology. I spent several years doing research at the Institute of Behavioral Science at CU. I've taught almost 2,000 students at CU. And I've been a coach for a couple of years, and I love, 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 I'll say it again, love what I do. The reason is because I've overcome a lot in my life, and it's not really my credentials. They're not really the reason you want to listen to me. I mean, sure, that's all useful and valuable knowledge that I have, but I've taken it and packaged and combined it with my personal experiences. I stepped into the coaching world through personal growth and development after I was having my own personal downfalls. I ended a 15-year marriage through having an affair, and then I was in a relationship with that person, and it was falling apart. Things weren't going well. I was stuck. I was on food stamps. I was trying to work my way through grad school with 3 kids, and I was freaking scared. And I felt like I was daily in survival mode. I constantly worried. I probably thought about money at least 100 times a day. I would make decisions like, well, I guess, I wore decisions like, how many pots of beans and rice can I make with different flavors so that we can eat inexpensively so that we can have money for clothes for the new school year or school supplies. Or I would really just hope that somehow some windfall of money would come in so I could buy a new laptop for my kids when they started high school. Or, I didn't buy new underwear and bras for 7 years during grad school. They had holes in them, but I couldn't go buy them because I had to make sure I had enough money to get through grad school, to pay the rent, to pay for the food. I worried daily. What if something happens to my kids? What if some sort of health issue comes up and I don't have money to pay for insurance? One time I got into a bike accident and I woke up in the ambulance, and I woke up and the ambulance hadn't started, and I sat up and I said, "Where am I? What's going on?" And I said, "Am I going to die?" And they looked at me like I was crazy, of course. And they started doing these tests on my eyes and asking me the date and things like that, what my name is. And I answered them all, and they said, well, no. And I said, well, let me out of the ambulance. And the reason was because I didn't have insurance. And I thought, there is no way in hell I can pay for the ambulance to the hospital. So I got out of the ambulance it was a cold night. I was in shock. At the time there was no Uber. I took a taxi to the hospital. I had to wait outside in the cold. When I got there, I realized I had a serious concussion. I had been knocked unconscious for several minutes. And I had a 3rd-degree shoulder separation. So these are the decisions that are made by people when they don't have money. Those hard decisions have to be made because I was constantly scared and in survival mode. I had a very negative mindset, a victim mindset. I felt completely stuck and out of control of my reality, and it was pretty brutal. Well, luckily, one night I was laying on the floor of my basement. My partner had moved out, and that relationship had failed, seemingly. And I got an email from my ex-husband who I'd just seen that day, and I was thinking like, cool, we're getting along, things are going well, we're kind of repairing. And in the email, he had just moved into a new house with his girlfriend at the time, and he said, the email was titled Boundaries, and he wanted to set these new boundaries where we didn't interact at all, and we just exchanged suitcases on the sidewalk. And I was devastated. I thought, wow, my life is a real mess. I am really bad at relationships. How am I going to pay the rent? I was in this huge house that I had rented with my partner, but he was moving out. So then that meant I had to move again. I had to come up with money for moving. I didn't know how I was going to feed the kids. Everything just felt really messy and sad. And I was crying. And I had a really critical epiphany in this moment where I thought, I'm the center of all of these issues. I am the common denominator in what's going on. And I took a vow in that moment. I thought, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to have a long-term, fulfilling, connected relationship. And that moment was awesome because it led me to podcasts. Woo, woo, yay, podcasts. For me, that was free information. It was knowledge. And I turned to relationship podcasts. And I got really lucky because I found a relationship podcast that the person was based in Boulder and had a workshop. And so I contacted the person and said, I'll do anything. I don't have enough money, but I want to get into this workshop. And that just led me down this amazing path of personal growth and development. And on that path, I've come to love habits and the study of habits. This journey was also combined with me teaching at CU. And, in sociology land, we talk a lot about social problems. There's no classes studying happiness or the ways, the methods and modalities that help people thrive or feel alive or learn relationship skills or life skills. Instead, we study all the problems and the macro level systems that keep people stuck, and we teach about that. So we are constantly focusing on what's wrong in the world instead of helping people learn what's right. So I had this juxtaposition where I was learning and doing research and teaching about social problems, but then also starting to turn to coaching and work with coaches, and that planted the seed. I was like, I want to be solutions based. I want to help people thrive. I want to teach people what I'm learning because I realize that relationships are a skill. Money is a skill. Making money is a skill. And personal power is a skill. None of these things are taught to kids in school across any age. I think there's a few relationship courses I've heard about that are pretty cool, but none of them are required. And so we don't teach our kids these essential life skills and habits that they need to thrive. So people feel really stuck and they look to everyone around them to figure out the way, but there's not a lot of good maps. And so I have become driven and inspired to help people thrive through learning max potential habits. That's why I've created this podcast. That's the work I do in my coaching. That's the book that I'm writing. It's everything to me. And the reason is because I've gotten to research it from a human behavior specialist perspective. And I've also got to implement it in my own life and see that it works. And now with my clients and watch them thrive. And I just want to share this with the world. That's why I'm here. That's what you'll get on this podcast. For those of you who know me, I am a very, very, very inspired person, and I'm very upfront. I won't BS you. You know, the name of my company is NFA Coaching, no fucking around. It doesn't mean that I'm not here to support you, but I am going to challenge you. I'm going to bring you topics that are going to help you grow. I'm going to expect that you grow, because if you're here listening, it meant that you were on whatever path it crossed with mine. Your and my worlds collided, which means that we're meant to know each other. If you're listening to this, yes, you're ready. Take it on, max your potential, unlock your potential, work to reach your potential. You only get this one life, and I want it to be amazing. I want to give you the tools to help it be amazing. And in that, we're going to focus on habits. All right. Thanks so much for listening. Obviously, you can tell that I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to get to know you. I'm blessed. I feel very, very blessed to have you on this journey with me. And I look forward to learning, connecting, and growing with you on our Max Potential Habits journey. Until next time, remember that max potential people practice max potential habits. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you're liking this podcast, make sure you subscribe and leave a review. This will help me help more people max their potential to thrive. If you want to be a part of the Max Potential Habits community, go to nfacoaching.com, where you can get my free Thrive roadmap that will teach you the 6 steps I took to go from food stamps to 6 figures in only 3 years. And you can also find out how to join my live weekly online training that happens every Monday with other NFA Max Potential Habits business builders who are driven to succeed. Until next time, I hope you have a NFA day where you thrive and feel alive.